Good morning. So, our planner is up for the day, so you can kind of get a look at what we're doing for the rest of the week. I'll be looking today at final drafts from your revised letters to the front from Tuesday. And then today is Wednesday, so we're going to be studying lesson 8 from our Flowers for Algernon unit. Don't forget that Thursday you'll have your Word Within the Word List 3 quiz, and then we'll do lessons 9 and 10 in class. And on Friday, which this week is your home day, you'll take sections 2 and 3 quiz in the Learn Zillion platform. So, the last lesson we did, we identified claims in What's in an Ink Blot, Some Say Not Much, and summarized why projective tests are controversial. So, remember that that was when you looked at the three different types of scientists. You had scientists who believed that projective tests were useful and beneficial. You had scientists who believed that they were maybe beneficial and useful in certain situations. And then you had some who thought they weren't useful or beneficial at all. Today, we're going to continue looking at what's in an ink blot. Some say not much, but we're also going to develop thesis statements and look at argumentative essays and how to make a thesis statement for an argument. And we'll also determine the central idea of the text. So you'll need your CAMI copy of What's in an Ink Blot, Some Say Not Much, as well as the argument analysis handout. So Ashford University has a really useful tool on their website. It's a writing platform where they answer all kinds of questions about writing. One of those was about argumentative writing, which is what we're studying today. And it tells you what argumentative writing is, says that you're typically asked to take a position on an issue or topic. So you can't say, uh, I like ice cream sometimes, but sometimes I don't like ice cream. Or I think that this is a good thing, but sometimes it's a bad thing. So you have to pick a side. And then you explain and support your position on that topic with research from reliable and credible sources. The characteristics of an argumentative paper, you have to have a thesis statement. And your thesis statement has to be something that can be argued, something that somebody else, a rational person, could have the opposing opinion on. So, like in our article, What's in an Ink Blot? Some Say Not Much, we have very well respected scientists on both sides of the issue. Some who say that they're great tests and have very useful benefits. And then those other scientists who are also very well respected within their fields think that the Rorschach test is not very useful. You must have several reasons and points of discussion that help you to support your argument, and then you explain and support your reasons in body paragraphs in your essay. And then, as with any academic writing, you have to make sure that you give credit to your sources. So, how do you write a thesis statement? Okay, you have to make sure that you make a claim on a topic. So, if you look at this sample, the topic that they were writing about was technology. And their position on technology was that technology has decreased our level of connectedness to others. Okay, there are plenty of people who would say, no, it hasn't. It's increased our connectedness to other people. Thinking about people who maybe use social media to stay in touch with their relatives that live far away, or even being able to stay connected to other people that maybe they never otherwise would have met, but they met through online tools like social media or other websites. Gaming. A lot of you kids your age use gaming to make friends. You hook up on your gaming system and meet people from all over the world. So, because in this sentence signals that I'm about to give reasons. And the reasons that they say technology has decreased our level of connectedness to others is because it allows us to disconnect from the people in our physical environment. And it does not foster the social skills needed in order to help us connect to those around us. So they're providing you with two reasons that they plan on giving you evidence to support in order to make the claim that technology has decreased our level of connectedness to others. At this point, I'm going to show you the argument analysis handout that you're going to be asked to complete today in class. And we're together going to do the first part, and then you'll be responsible for doing the remainder of the argument analysis handout on your own. So, what we are going to do now is we are going to look at some quotations from the article, What's in an Ink Blot? Some Say Not Much. And we're going to try to come up with a thesis statement to go along with the evidence that we have. So, what we're looking for with these quotes is a thesis statement that supports the use of the Rorschach test. So we're thinking about a positive argument in favor of the Rorschach test. The directions say read these quotations and develop a thesis statement for the use of the Rorschach and other projective tests. So they've given us 5 pieces of text evidence that all support the use of the Rorschach test and other projective tests. Our job now is to decide how would we argue this. So on your argument analysis handout, you see there's a box down here. And one of the things we have to decide is what do all of these have in common besides they're in favor of the Rorschach test? So let's look at these. The Rorschach's champions have often been almost worshipful in their belief in its ability to pare back the layers of the psyche, and the test is generally regarded as offering a richness of information about a person's psychological world that cannot be gained from interviews or from self report tests. All right, so this first one says that it gives us information about a person's psyche that often we would not be given because a person didn't want to tell us that about themselves. So we get information about a person without them really volunteering it. The second one says, with the comprehensive system, the test can yield a complex picture of people's psychological strengths and weaknesses, the Rorschach's proponents say, including their intelligence and overall mental functioning. So again, we get a picture of a person's psychological strengths and weaknesses, including their intelligence and overall mental functioning. They talked about being able to get information about a person's psyche here. We get that same information here, positives and negatives. So most people aren't going to tell you the negative things about themselves. And some people don't want to brag on themselves. So this is still information that maybe they wouldn't volunteer themselves, but we often can get that information this way. The third one, the test is considered particularly powerful in situations in which people may not be expected to volunteer negative information about themselves. So, again, something in common here, them not volunteering information about themselves. The fourth one, there are plenty of studies that show the Rorschach can help you identify people who have schizophrenia or whether people are depressed, Dr. Weiner said. But the test doesn't make the diagnosis. No single test that a clinician uses makes the diagnosis. If you're going to use this instrument effectively, you're going to take a lot of things into consideration. So it does help doctors making diagnosis about people. So it can give them valuable information about a person. That is what it has in common with these other 3. The fifth one, if you're interested only in some diagnostic labeling, Dr. Exner said, I don't know that the Rorschach is worth doing, not simply because of time, but because you're flooded with information that you're not going to use. On the other hand, if you're going to treat someone, I think the Rorschach is a pretty sturdy instrument. So he provides you with a positive reason to use this to help identify something about a person that maybe a doctor needs help treating. So all of these talk about using this piece of testing to help people figure out things about a person that a person wouldn't be able to tell you themselves. So to write a thesis statement, you have to have a claim. And our claim here is in favor of the Rorschach test. So the Rorschach and other projective tests can be useful because they, and this is where we give our reasons. So here's our claim, they can be useful. Because says that I'm about to give you reasons. Okay, so two things that we see that these five things have in common is that they show us information about a person that they would not willingly provide about their strengths and their weaknesses. So because they reveal, let's say both, strengths and weaknesses about a person that the person otherwise would not volunteer to a treating physician. Okay, so here's a thesis statement in support of the Rorschach test. You're going to also be asked to complete one against it. So remember, this article had both positives and negatives for the Rorschach test. So here we've got four quotes that seem to suggest that the Rorschach test should not be used. You need to come up with a thesis statement, a statement first, your claim, and then reasons. Okay, see what these quotes all have in common. Maybe that there is two or three things, two or three reasons that these quotes suggest why we should not use a Rorschach test. And you would type your thesis statement here. Then there are some questions to answer at the bottom of this document. So consider the controversy surrounding the use of projective tests. How does the author recognize opposing or conflicting viewpoints? And what's in an ink blot? Some say not much. It tells you some helpful hints here on how to answer this question. It talks a lot about transition words, shifts between viewpoints. Okay, using transition words to go back and forth between positives for the Rorschach test and negatives against it. They talk about phrases such as while, but even, and then describe how the author recognizes these opposing or conflicting viewpoints, providing examples from the article in your description. The last part asks you to tell me about the central idea of the article and why did the author write the text and what is her purpose in writing this. And it provides you some spots here to write. Remember that central idea is basically the point. Okay, does this author specifically favor one side or the other, or does she present both sides so that you can make up your mind? What was the purpose in writing this? The author tells you at the beginning of the article why she wrote this article. So go back and find that information. Make sure that you include it. This answer should be a couple of paragraphs long. So you'll type on this and then you'll submit it in Google Classroom, making sure that you have completed all parts. And then I will see you guys on Thursday. So basically, you are discussing how the author uses words and phrases to recognize opposing claims in what's in an ink blot. Some say not much. You're going to complete the first box on the second page of the argument analysis handout. We just kind of went over that information. And then to complete the remaining sections of the argument analysis handout is really your assignment for the rest of this lesson. And When you are finished with the lesson, you will have learned how written arguments present claims, reasons, and evidence and recognize opposing viewpoints. And you also developed evidence based written claims and determined a central idea of an informational text.